Welcome to Integrated Wellbeing YouTube channel and podcast for people grieving and the professionals who serve them. We are here to provide education, inspiration, and practical tools for our audience by interviewing those bereaved by loss, mental health professionals, and grief specialists. Our mission at the Integrated Wellbeing Institute is to awaken the griever to their inner peace through the guidance of their body. And it is with delight today that I introduce to you my colleague and friend, Reverend Christine Green. Hello, Christine.
Hi, Georgena. So good to be here with you.
It's wonderful to have you. I'm going to introduce you professionally to our audience now for just a minute. Reverend Christine Green finds her inspiration in empowering others to grow beyond their limitations and discover their inner strength and courage. She's an author, facilitator, speaker, and minister, and has a background in business, education, and a master's in religious science. As an ordained CSL, spiritual Centers for Spiritual Living, that is, minister, Christine served as an assistant minister for NTCSL and is currently on the interim ministry team and is one of the facilitators of the new minister co-creation process. Her latest book, Soul Musings, Finding the Sacred in the Ordinary, was launched in September of 2021. And what I know about Christine is she finds joy in hiking, as well as movies, seminars, workshops, and retreats. So it's just so good to have you here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Georgena.
You're welcome. And what prompted me to invite you was a colleague of ours with whom I was speaking. And she shared that a parent had died and that you and she had had a conversation and it was so beneficial to her. So would you share some of the elements of that for our audience, please?
Yeah, thank you. I don't remember the details, but the essence of what it was with anybody that's going through grief is to listen. That first of all, she needed to talk about her own grief and the situation that happened. And it's difficult for us to talk to our friends that oftentimes they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about death. They don't want to talk about the details. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with our grief. And so to have someone like that, what you do and how I serve is someone that we're there, that people can talk to, and we listen. Mm-hmm. And then I think I invited her to journal, to write down what was going on with her. We talked a little bit about issues she was going on or feelings that she had, but basically it's an opportunity to listen and to be holding the high watch, holding consciousness for another going through that process.
Mm-hmm. We call it presence in my training.
Yes.
And to simply be in that place of allowing whatever comes up.
Yes.
And we talked recently with another podcast YouTube guest about the importance of just having the silence.
Yes. Yeah.
And so many people are uncomfortable with silence.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. And what I learned from my own grief is when I had a grief counselor, I got a grief counselor immediately. And the fact that I would just go to her office, and I don't remember how often we met. I think it was weekly at first, and then it was once a month. I would go to her office and just sit there, and I could talk about anything. I could just talk about anything. And she shared her story and I shared mine. It was somebody who got me, who understood what I was going through. And I tell you, that time with her, I just was lifted up every time.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I had many grief counselors. She was my grief counselor. I had my spiritual mentor. I had my teacher. And so I had a lot of people that I could turn to. I was very blessed. And I can't tell that story enough and invite people to talk to someone, reach out to a counselor. It makes such a difference because, like I said before, your friends don't know where to go with that. They don't know what to say. And they kind of feel like, well, you're making me uncomfortable and let's change the subject. Let's go get a cup of coffee. Let's go for a walk. Let's do something else. But they don't know what to do with our grief. So it's so important to have somebody.
Mhm. Mhm. And so you went to a grief counselor. What prompted you to do that?
My husband had a series of illnesses. He lived for years with polycythemia, a form of cancer, and then that turned into leukemia. And then he had a bone marrow transplant, one thing after another. It just battered his body until there was nothing left. And so he passed. And before he passed, I became friends with one of his business colleagues, and she had lost her husband. And she's the one who told me, she said, whatever you do, you are eligible because of hospice to have a grief counselor. And she said, get that grief counselor immediately. And that's what I did. So it was her encouragement. And so and they reached out. I asked them and they reached out immediately. And that's how I got my grief counselor.
Oh, that's wonderful. So all of you listening who have had your person in hospice, that is a benefit. And
Yes.
it's for the first year, I'm remembering.
Yes, it's for the first year.
Mhm. Mhm. And I'm very curious was there a point in your husband's illness where you began in anticipatory grief that you've, yes?
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
He shared with me one morning that he had a dream that he was flying and that he was flying around the universe, and his sister had passed several years earlier. In fact, he had 4 siblings pass before him.
Oh,
And but with this one sister he was very close with, that he was flying around with her. And it just like took my breath away. And I said, are you leaving me? And I knew we lived with his illness. We lived with polycythemia, but he seemed to be getting better until at one point it took a turn. That a disease like that, you take medicine for so long and the medicine starts to have a counter effect. And so I was always on the edge. And I think that's what can't say served us in a way, maybe, because we never took anything for granted.
mhm.
We knew life was short. We knew whatever time we had together. We never thought about it or talked about it, but it was just like an underlying thing of life is short and illness is looming. And but when he said that day, it was like it began my process.
Did
And
it?
yeah. And then I was secretly praying. Then as he got worse, like I was praying because my parents were elderly. My mother was in assisted living, and I was praying, don't leave before my parents. I don't know how to go through this without you, to go through the loss of my parents. It was like, just hang, I just like was making deals his soul all the time. You can't leave before my mom or my dad because I don't know I can't do this without you.
Mhm.
And he left before my mom and my dad.
Oh, he did.
Did. He did. And you know what happened is his passing gave me the courage and the wisdom and the awareness to take my family through grief. Because a
Oh,
year later, my mother died.
wow.
A year later, my mother died. And I got to be there, especially with my dad. They had been married over 70 years.
Oh, my.
And so my dad was, well, and knowing my mother was not doing well, but knowing that it's still, you grieve. You could know for ages that somebody is not doing well. It doesn't matter. The loss is the loss, right?
Yes,
The
yes,
loss is the loss.
yes. So how were you then able to take your family through grief just 1 year later? What things were you able to be and do? And hear how I said be and
Yeah.
do. Mhm.
Same thing as I would for anyone else listening a lot. But here's the thing. It's not what you would think. It was telling them that Lawrence was on the other side.
Ah, and
That my mom is going, and this was really powerful for my dad, because my family had to grieve Lawrence. You know, they grieved his loss
yes,
tremendously. And so they knew that. But now my mother's gone. I was like, you know what? She went to be home with Lawrence. And there was some peace about that.
yes.
Some peace about that she wasn't alone. She had siblings on the other side, parents on the other side. But it was like, yeah, they get to hang out together, and they both love to cook. So we imagined them cooking together.
Ah, and so there was some joy in
Yes.
this grief process. Mhm,
Yes.
mhm, mhm.
Yes.
And that's what grief is. It's that roller coaster of highs and lows. And for me, I always give permission to people to enjoy the highs, because some people say, "Oh, I was smiling, I was laughing, and I'm supposed to be grieving." And it's like, no, 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 no. It's a both and.
Yes. I love that. It's both and.
Mhm.
Um, and that bothers people, that I'm supposed to be sad or I have to stay in this place. But you're right. You have those moments of joy. You have those moments of lightness, and that's how we were able to get through it. It's like so I was there for them, knowing that Lawrence was on the other side, knowing they were hanging out together, and also to listen to them and to have them you share what was going on,
Mhm.
and to comfort them in whatever way I could.
And it's very ironic because you had then that year of grief therapy where you knew that coming in and just talking, you left lighter. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I always do with every single person I see, whether it's a corporate person about something else or a person who is grieving. I'll say, and so as our time together comes to a close, what are you leaving with? And that allows us then to go inside and really notice, oh my gosh, I do feel lighter.
Thank you for saying that. That's so true. And I wish I knew you when I was going through this. We met several years later, but what you did was you helped me put words to all of this. You helped me through your book, and the work that we've done together is you helped me put it into context to be able to understand it and explain it. So I really appreciate that. Excuse me. But yeah, I wish I knew you when, um, because that would have been it would have been one more layer. So the more we can understand ahead of time,
Mhm.
right? If we
Yeah.
understood, like every part of us that grieves, losing a pet, losing a job, losing um, um, a friend that every time we grieve, we learn something from it and we're able to put it in better context.
Yes, yes. We learn when we choose to.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing about grief, because it is so very, 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 very hard. And yet people have said over and over again, I learned so much by going through cancer. I wouldn't wish it on anyone else, but my illness taught me so much. Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's so true.
So that's again, it's like the highs and lows. It's the awareness in the darkness that we're in, the light and the darkness. And
Yeah.
the paradigm now for the Integrated Wellbeing Institute, the new paradigm of grief we're sharing is you're not broken by this loss. You're broken open like a seed to grow in self-awareness and new connections.
I love that. That's beautiful, because that's the feeling, is I'm broken, but I love that I'm broken open, because really the heart gets so much bigger. We have a hard time understanding that, but something happens in the heart chakra that we have a deeper understanding, we have a deeper compassion for each other and a deeper appreciation for life.
Mhm.
At least that's how it affected me.
Yes, yes. Recently, a guest, Dr. Robert Niemeyer, shared the story of working with a couple. And as they transformed, moving through the grief of their son, the woman said, I'm at work now, and somebody is so stressed about a fax not going through. She said, it doesn't matter after what we've been through. And and that's what I was hearing you say just a moment ago.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And we're able to put it in context
Yes, yes.
and see. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. And that's the thing that's so hard, I believe, in those early days of grief, is that we're in that raw grief where, like the caterpillar that's turned to caterpillar soup in the cocoon, grief covers the tapestry of our lives. Everywhere we look, every thought we have is about this person or pet or dream or situation. My house burns down. Oh my, you know? And so we just are in that place. And I've had so many clients be very, very angry that the rest of the world goes on. Why is the world going on? And I feel this way.
Yes. Yeah. That's so hard, because you feel your world has stopped.
Mhm,
Your world has stopped,
mhm,
and it's dark, and why are people laughing? And
mhm.
I was so blessed, because I had people around me that I could go through that process with, I could walk through that with, and were there for me to hold my hand and to reach out for me.
Mhm.
One of the friends that was such an impact, and tell me if
No, we're good.
move on. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, we have plenty of time.
This friend would call me and she would say, I'm going to the mall. Do you want to go? And I went, no, I don't want to go anywhere. And she said, okay. And then she'd call me again uh, a week later or so, and she'd say, I'm going to the park. Do you want to come with me? I say, no, I can't. I just can't. And I couldn't go be somewhere. And finally but she asked me, but she never stopped, and she wasn't offended.
Yes.
So she would say, okay, that's okay. And then she'd call again. And then one day she called and she said, I'm going to the antique store and then to lunch. Do you want to come? And I said, yes. I was finally ready to go. And I didn't have to do anything I didn't want to, but she was just there for me. And it was so comforting. And it was so loving that she didn't turn away, because what happens is we reach out to somebody and we say, is there something I can do? And they say no. And we go, okay, that's it. And the door closes.
Yes.
and that's it. And we don't call them anymore. I tried to reach out, but they didn't want anything.
Right.
And so it's
Mhm.
just a friendly opportunity to reach out and say, I'm here thinking
Mhm.
about you. I'm just thinking about you.
Yes.
You're so good at doing that.
Uh,
You touch base with people, and you will call at a time when I need it. I know you're very intuitive. So you will call at a time when I need it. And that's what happens with people in grief, is to, when that thought comes up, I wonder how they're doing. Give them a call, send them an email, or just reaching out, or drop a card. Anything is that's what they needed in that moment.
yes, yes. And a heart emoji or a thinking of you with a heart emoji as a text.
Yes,
So lovely.
yes, that's
And
it.
I'm so glad you told this story. Thank you so much, because what was wonderful about this woman is that she was confident enough, loving enough to hear a genuine no
Yes.
and
Yeah.
not be offended, not close the door.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. It would have been so easy to say, well, I tried. She's not listening. She's not interested. I'm just going to go away.
Exactly. And what's so interesting to me is I'm working with people who are in that raw stage of grief, and they don't have the energy. And people are beginning to invite, okay, so this happened like after the first 3 months. And so my client would say, oh, I went and I never should have gone. So now I said, let's feel into what is it like when someone asks, can you imagine the energy that it would take to be there and be with them? Or sometimes it's fine to be with the person, but not going out to lunch. And so we have really developed that skill for her so that she can feel into it and knows. See, you already had that skill, but not everybody has that. And
That's
so
so true.
so those of you that are listening as professionals, this may be something that you work with your clients to develop so they have that sense of not accommodating, not saying yes when they really mean no.
Yes. Yes. And to not put pressure, but it's just a gentle ask.
Yes.
Just gentle ask. And it's the hardest thing for us when we see people that are in need, that are ill or going through problems or grieving or whatever, is we want to reach out and help. How can I help? And we thinking that we have to show up somewhere, we have to bring them something, and that's the issue with people bringing casseroles.
Yes.
The desperation and wanting to help, and that's the worst thing. Well, not for everybody. Some people
Right.
it's very appreciative, but it can be overwhelming. It can be
Yes.
overwhelming. So, but to have that awareness.
And I think it probably was overwhelming for you and me because it's been 10 years of 12 perhaps since Lawrence died. It's been 25 years since Reed died, my son. And now what they have is, I'm so pleased, is they've got what's called a meal train. So you can sign up online and you can have your night and you don't have to worry about what anybody else is bringing. And so there's some really good things that have happened with technology that can support those grieving.
Right. And that's so great. That and the caring bridge.
Oh, yes.
All these tools that are available that were not available before. So it's wonderful.
It really, really is. And so I want to share with our audience Soul Musings and your book. So there's a part in here. Are you listening? Page 28, a story you tell. Would you please share that? I'm going to read what Leo Biscaglia said.
Okay.
Before you tell the story. So what's wonderful about this book is it's something that you can turn to every morning or whenever, And there's always the title, and then there's a quote. And I love this one. Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so please tell us about the story of arriving at the bank.
So Lawrence had passed, and I was needing to take care of all of his accounts and everything. And it was his checking account. And then, they were taking out fees every month. It's like, I need to stop that. So when I had his death certificate, I was able to go to the bank and handle that. So I went to the bank, and it was like, it's such a difficult thing, because this is one more thing that I have to close the book on, one more thing that is less of him around.
Yes.
And just so difficult. So it took me days to get ready. And then I finally said, okay, today I'm going to go. So I take my certificate and my papers, and I go to the bank, and trying not to cry, I'm trying to do my best. And the person, I wait, and then the person's available, and it was this man. And I think it was barely whispering to me. I look like death myself, because when you're grieving, you have no awareness of yourself. So I knew I looked awful, and red eyes and no makeup. And so I said, I whispered, I'm here to close my husband's account. He passed away, and I need to close his account. And he said, oh, okay. So he starts, clicking on the computer, and he turns to me and he says, so what are you doing on this sunny day today? And I was stunned. It's like there was I don't even remember if he ever said, I'm sorry for your loss. He might have, I don't remember it, because there was nothing to engage me. I'm so sorry. This must be difficult. Thank you for coming in, or anything. But to click away and then say, what are you doing on this sunny day? And I just stared at him. And it was like, how could you ask me that? I am barely holding it together. I didn't even know the sun was out. I'm barely holding it together. And thank goodness, angels intervened, because before I could say something rude or respond, somebody called him, and he said, excuse me, I have to go. And he walked away. And angels intervened, because someone else came and sat down and finished.
Wow.
And so I'm so grateful, because I don't know what I would have done with him. So somebody else came and said, oh, he was called away. Let me finish this. So they finished closing the account, and they gave me the things I needed and explained it to me. And then I was on my way.
Mm-hmm.
But all I could think of, and that's why I titled it, Are You Listening?
Yes.
Did you hear what I said?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that I can be aware, and that's what I got from that. I hope I am always aware to listen where people are at, so that I won't do that to anyone. And please forgive me if I ever did, but that I won't do that to anyone, to ignore their grief, their sorrow, or what they're going through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's really a fine line between being there with them and having that look of pity. So many people have said to me, oh, Georgena, I'm so tired of hearing so sorry for your loss. And yet, what do we say? My condolences. Oh, this must be a very difficult time for you. Could have been his response, instead of, I'm sorry, I'm here to close my husband's account. Oh, this must be a very difficult time for you.
Right.
Okay. And then it would have been, I'm listening. And
Yes.
for those of you who are people grieving, and those of you who are the professionals working with them, it's this, I'm glad you chose to tell us this, because how many times does it take a person days to get ready for this overwhelming task? I have had clients that have said, I'm so overwhelmed because I've got to do this, this, and this. And so I've said to them, can you write each of those things on a day? Or do we need to make a plan to have one this week and then one the next week? Let's feel into that, because otherwise people can become so overwhelmed, so stressed, they can get sick.
Right. Right. It's something we take for granted. I have to go to the bank, grab my purse, grab the paper, go to the bank. When you're grieving, it's not so easy. You have to get into a mindset. Can I even go? Can I even go today? Can I even be around people? And do I know what to say? Do I know what I want to do? So yes, you're right that all the things we have to do, spreading them out over days would be wonderful, because it takes a whole day to go do one of those things when you're in grief.
And
So
that's where we don't often think, but it just came to me. This is where somebody who wants to help, can you pick me up and take me to the bank?
yes, it would have been so great to go with a friend. And I didn't know that to ask. My friend that was asking me, I could have asked her, will you take me to the bank?
Right.
We don't think to ask, will you go with me to the store? Will you go with me to the dentist? I don't need somebody to go, but it'd be really nice if I had a partner there.
Exactly.
If I had somebody there during this time of grief where every little thing seems overwhelming.
It does. I had someone say to me, I feel so raw, like I have no skin.
Yeah.
And I will remember that. And that was a very long time ago that this person said this to me. And I didn't have that experience. And so again, but we're, what you said to me, it sounded like you even weren't back in your body after Lawrence had died.
Yeah.
And that happens. I know that, people leave their bodies, and it's a while before they can come back in.
Right.
Mhm, mhm,
Right.
yeah. So thank you for sharing that wonderful story from Soul Musings. What has the feedback been from other people about your book and how they're using it? I'm curious.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not a grief book. It's a inspirational book. It's got essays in it, and there's a place to journal. So I didn't intend it to be a journal, but that's how it came out. Because I did ask at the end of each essay, there's a question. And I forgot the question that I asked on that one.
It's the affirmation, acknowledge any loss or grief you are experiencing. Could writing about it help you release it?
I have two other journals that I wrote. So this is written in the form of a journal, and I have two other journals that I wrote for caregivers. But the purpose of Soul Musings is inspiration to give us awareness of how connected we are in the universe. Whatever you call spirit or God or source, whatever it is for you, how connected we are. And when we share, when we write down our experience, there's a lesson there. There's an awareness there. There's something new that we've learned. And to write that down, it's so powerful to write it down and to be able to get it out on paper and see it. There's a magic to it.
Suzanne Giesman, who is an amazing medium and teaches other people that skill, calls God joy.
Yes. Yes.
And I really do. I like that term because for so many people, the word God is so very uncomfortable. And so we've been in the circles I'm in saying, oh, is my soul my true nature? Is this infinite intelligence that's all around me? Is this divine nature? And divine is not a word that some people can have. So words matter. They really do. And I appreciate you giving our audience that wide range of what is it that you know hangs the stars in the sky
Yes.
and keeps
Yes.
them from falling, you know?
Yes.
And that's why I love the full title of this book. I want you to hear it. Soul Musings, Finding the Sacred in the Ordinary. And really and truly, every day is sacred.
Yes, yes. And every experience is sacred. And when we take those ordinary experiences, like going to the bank and looking at them and reflecting on them, I find wisdom in them. Going to the bank, I tell a story about low tire pressure in the car. And how does it relate that by not inflating the car, when am I not giving myself the air and the awareness that I need to do my spiritual practice?
There we
So
go.
every incident we could reflect on takes us back to something that helps us grow spiritually.
Yes. And that's that eye for metaphor that you're talking about. Because when we look at the tire that's deflated, could it be a reflection of how we are deflated in a
Yes.
moment?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And then that creates that connection, that oneness. Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that awareness, and then I can pay attention. And that's mindfulness. The mindfulness is I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention when I have a feeling going on or a pain. And you've taught me a lot about that. Any ache or pain in the body, what's that about? Am I listening to that? Am I paying attention? So it's all about awareness and mindfulness.
It really is. It is. And it was interesting because we discovered that mindfulness is being in the present moment and awareness is focus then in that moment. And it can be a focus in the body. It can be a focus outside you of the flat tire and then come back in and question, is this a reflection of me? Because so oftentimes the things around us are a reflection of what's happening inside. That just it's a new skill set to develop that. That's all it is.
Right, right. And the more we do it, the easier it comes.
Yes.
And that's why I love journaling and wanted everyone to have this as a journal, to write this stuff down, to have these little awarenesses, because everyone helps us see the next one and the next one. And we get wisdom that way. We get information that way. We get guidance that way. That's how we listen to our intuition.
Mm-hmm. And everybody has it. Sometimes
Yes.
it's just been shut down and shoved in a corner. And I've had so many grieving people say to me, oh, it just feels like I'm so disconnected. And that's why we do the body-mind processes, to allow them to feel that connection in themselves. And then that turns the switch of intuition back on.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Because it is there. It is. Well, one of the things that you've created and I've enjoyed so much are your women's retreats. So would you share not only the retreat, but the why behind retreats? Why are retreats such an enriching experience for those of us who are serving people who are grieving, because that can be draining, or for people who are experiencing the raw or fragile grief moment?
Yes, yes. Retreats are a wonderful way to step out of the busy scheduled life that we have, that we say we want to contemplate, we say we want to read and do something for ourselves, but we don't. And so it's a way to step out of life, but we, rather than retreat, we really engage in our spiritual lives. And so it's an opportunity to reconnect with your inner awareness, to have that reconnection. So the retreats are at a beautiful retreat center in Estacada, Oregon. And the next one is October 22nd through 25th of this year, 2023. And it's wisdom from the heart, and is the theme. And it's just an opportunity to go and rest and be in awareness. And all the meals, it's fabulous food, as you can attest to. The food is wonderful, holistic food, catered to your dietary needs. Beautiful rooms in a very quiet, forested area. And it's just such a wonderful place to go and to be able to step out of the world and take a breath to go within. And then not only that, but then we come together in community. And that's where I have God bumps. That's where the connection is, because we all come together. We are all going through such similar things, but we think we're doing it alone. And so we come together in community and we laugh, we dance, we share, we sing. I have wonderful musician, Lori Jones, who does our music. So we just have a wonderful time together.
Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting. What is in the middle of the word community? It's unity.
Yes.
And now that we're moving into the age of Aquarius, that is all about community. And so I know when people are in grief that, there's that pulling in, but then it gets to the point of, oh, I don't want to be alone. So how can I open up? And what I've appreciated about the retreat as it evolved over the years is there's more and more space in it for that time to be alone, to really discern, to journal. We have some silent time, and that's really such a gift, because for some people it's excruciating, and for others of us it's like, okay, I'll see you next week. Let's just keep this silence going.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I was told, I have done retreats for organizations, and the organization I was with, when I said I was going to do a time of silence, they said, oh, that will never work. That will never work. And everybody loved it. They love the time of silence. It's not a week. It's just a time, a portion of a day that we get to go into silence and be in that place and pay attention to what is going on with me. How often or how little time do we spend in silence? Mm-hmm. There's so much noise around us. There's so much activity, but to be in the forest, in the silence, is exquisite, is the best explanation.
Yes, and transformative.
Yes.
With it, transformation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So thank you for asking about that. Registration will open June 1st.
Okay.
And, yes.
And we'll have a link below to Christine's website, and I'm sure that they can navigate the registration from your website. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Good. So as our time together comes to a close today, I'm curious, are there any other thoughts or words of wisdom? This has been so rich. This has been exquisite in my experience. Oh. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to leave with our audience?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much. This has just been an honor to be here with you, and we could talk for days.
We could indeed. And I've learned things about you that, I didn't know. So this has been rich for me.
The most important thing right now is that each of us make that connection with our spiritual selves, that we are in a transformative time. And every one of us that makes that connection with our inner spiritual self, again, God, love, joy, whatever you want to call it, peace, when we make that, we are serving the planet. And that may sound strange to some people, but when we're able to find that, we raise our vibration. That every time we make that connection with the divine, we raise our vibration up. And when we do that, we send out that energy. And that energy goes out to all of humanity because we're all interconnected. There's no us or them, me or them, me or you. We're all connected. And every time we can do that for ourselves, we help raise the vibration for the planet. We help raise the vibration for humanity. And we are at a time now where it's so instrumental that we do this. This is that every talk I give, everything I do is focused on, this is our time. When we make that connection, we're making it for all of us in humanity. How important it is for us to do this together.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That's the whole purpose of the Institute. It's Integrated Wellbeing Institute. So people discover their well-being within. Another word that we can use for inner peace.
Yes.
And when it's like when we are the column, the person of inner peace that walks into the room, that has a ripple effect on everyone around us.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I love the way you said vibration, because everything is energy and different emotions have different vibration. So there's the vibration of love, there's the vibration of peace, there's the vibration of joy. And so for those of you that are listening today, I invite you to pause and just notice, what am I noticing in this moment? How am I? And you can't get it wrong because it's how you are doing. It's how you are in that moment. But become aware of what Reverend Christine was saying about the vibration of it. Beautiful. Thank you so much for the gift of our time together today.
Oh, thank you. It's just been a joy to be with you.
It has been indeed. Thank you.